How are you doing, everyone? Joe Ducey here, Ballina, County Mayo. A certain amount of you will be familiar with me from videos I've done on social media about my own plight fighting Garda corruption in Ballina. My story has gone on 24 years and I was subjected to charges of a hit and run on a Garda Declan Casey and Peter Kearns of Ballina Garda Station. A complete stitch up, frame up, never touched either of them. But I ended up getting a 3.5-year jail sentence and served it to the day. So I didn't think lightning could strike twice in the same Garda station, but it has done in Ballina Garda Station. So today I'm here to tell you about the story of John O'Boyle, a Ballina native who lives on the Sligo Road. John has a 9-hole golf course out there which he works all his time at. He maintains it and looks after it well and has quite a good few patrons on it. During the lockdown scenario with COVID, John didn't buy into that and didn't believe in the lockdown. So he left his golf course open to his regular customers. In that, yeah, go on, there's a driving range there, there's the 9-hole golf course, go out and get some exercise for yourself, be healthy, do the normal thing. But because that was offensive to the Gardaí and the state, the Gardaí started a campaign of harassment and intimidation on John, and they were going to punish him for not obeying their rules. So I'm going to cut to the chase and I'm going to go straight into the incident. This occurred on the 24th of October 2021, and we'll be picking up his CCTV cameras at about 9:20 in the morning. John O'Boyle left his house on the Sligo Road and took the shortest route over to his golf course. And as he exited his driveway, to the right on the main road, he noticed some Gardaí parked up. They were to claim it was a checkpoint, but it wasn't. There was actually no officially authorised checkpoint there for that day. John, when he exited his driveway, he turned left and took the shortest route to the golf course, which he does every morning. He has to go over, cut grass, maintain the greens and do whatever. However, on this particular morning, he did that. But the Gardaí, when someone spotted him, obviously, or they were out to get him, who knows. John went over, pulled up in his private car park on his private golf course, and a few minutes after getting there, a Garda Barracks follows him in. So we're going to watch the video now and I'll show you what happened, and then I'll explain the case and the trial afterwards. So we'll just get this going here and now. Let me see. There you go. If you look at the screen there, you'll see to the top left hand corner is John's white Jeep. On the right hand side we have Barracks in an unmarked car. If you look back there, he's pulled up, he's come in normally. Once he stops, he put on his blue lights and flashers and everything. Now that's John's dog coming out of the shed, and John will come out there shortly. Now Garda approaches John. He claims that he passed John on the road and seen he had no tax disc or something on the Jeep. He must have had a lot of carrots that morning. John informs him that he's on private property. It's a private golf course, and is basically telling Garda that there's no implied right of access and get the hell out of here. That he has no business here. So they have a brief chat. What you'll see then is John will go back into the shed and Barracks will walk back to his unmarked car. Seems very strange that he's, sorry, one thing I forgot to tell you there, I think John told me that Garda at this stage had told him to produce all the documents for the vehicle. Now remember, he's in a private car park on his own property, so this seems very strange to me. So anyway, John goes back into his shed. You can see Garda is on, it looks like he's on his mobile phone. For whatever reasons, we can't say, we can surmise alright, but we can't say exactly. But in less than 2 minutes, you'll see a marked squad car enter the car park with flashing lights, and they seem to arrive in a bit of a hurry. Now, this incident is going to rapidly escalate and leads to a very serious court case. Garda shortly is going to approach John again in the Jeep, and he's going to claim that John hit him with the Jeep and that he had serious injuries. 8 months down the line, John is going to get arrested and charged for this, which seems an awful long time for the incident. There's an awful lot of ins and outs of the trial and the procedures before the trial, which I'll get to after this short clip. But as you can see there now, Garda Nocton has done whatever he's doing, and he's having a lean up against the car. And I think John will come out to us again now very soon. So as I say, at this stage we can only guess what he said on the phone or guess who he's rang. But this whole incident is about to turn very, very sinister. John O'Boyle is a hard-working man, and that's his life, that golf course. You can see it in the background there at the back of the red van. That's where the actual golf course is, where he maintains lawns and everything on a daily basis. He has a good few customers out there, and I've been out there myself. It's a lovely area. And fair play to John, he did take a great stand against the COVID regulations. And he told all his customers that he would never shut the door on them, and he didn't. But the Gardaí and the state took a dim view of that, and he became persecuted by them. Now you see John coming back from another entry, and again now Garda Nocton is going to go over and approach him. And John tells me, he again tells him he's on private property, he has no business here, and to leave. And to be honest with you, if it was my private property, I'd be the same thing. You know, he's come in onto private property and he's trying to enforce road traffic acts. Now you see John reversing, nice and slowly. He's going to go out about his business. Keep an eye on the head there of Porrick Nocton and the Mark Squad car arriving. Now, Garda Nocton at a later stage is going to claim that he suffered serious injury. You see two of the guards arriving here. They're Garda Gorman and Garda Brennan from Ballina. They have just arrived as John drove off, and they said they witnessed Porrick Nocton being assaulted by John with the vehicle. And Porrick Nocton there, you'll see him walking around, he's going to claim that he was seriously injured. Now, Porrick Nocton is actually, I watched the whole video, is going to walk around the yard there with his buddies for about an hour and a half before he's taken away. And I can assure you, I'll let that keep playing. There's no sign of any injury there to me. And if you go back and you look on where John drove off, Porrick Nocton was not touched by that Jeep. And he did an exaggerated performance of swinging his arm as the guards came in, as the other two guards came in. Now eventually there's going to be 5 squads cars there and a lot of Gardaí, and they're going to make it a major incident. John has driven off down the golf course. He's going to park up down there, get on his tractor and cut his lawns and whatever, which he does every day. So that's basically the whole incident that you've seen. Now you can play it over and over again, the bit with the Jeep, and we'll try and put more footage in that might help you. But I can assure you, I've watched it many times, and Garda Porrick Nocton was not touched in that incident. I've watched the video where he walks around here for ages. They have a good conflab. What they're doing, I don't know. What they're cooking up, I don't know. But as far as John knew on that day, they all went away eventually, and that was it. John wasn't arrested, he wasn't charged with anything. Nothing happened. It was actually 8 months and 13 days later before they came out and arrested John for that incident, and they claimed that he was guilty, or they charged him on a Section 3 assault, dangerous driving, failure to remain at the scene of an accident, failure to produce insurance and DOE, a multitude of charges, and all because they were going to teach John O'Boyle a lesson for not obeying him. You'd have to wonder too, because Porrick Nocton admitted on the stand that he had a claim in for this, so I heard that Casey, in my case, got a big payout as well. So you'd have to wonder, is this all about insurance fraud? Are they claiming large amounts of money and splitting it between them? Is that their motive? Is that why they're doing it? Just a question to throw out there. Are you the taxpayer paying for all this? So that was it. That's basically the incident. So there was a long process after that. John was then charged and court cases were looming. It went to the district court first, and then the charges were brought forward to the circuit court. The stakes were getting higher. John knew that he was being framed once he got the book of evidence and the book of lies, as we should call it at this stage. It was obviously that all the colleagues were going to stick together and try and frame John. The investigating officer in this was Sergeant Patrick McCann from Ballina. And they weren't going to back down. So John came to myself and Melissa Kelly and asked could we do anything to try and stop the proceedings coming against him. So we decided that we would take a High Court action, a tort of conspiracy by unlawful means, that he was being framed. And that is what we duly did. So we upped the stakes against the Gardaí. There was many appearances in the High Court and indeed in the Circuit Court as these charges were progressing. The judge in question, if you can call him a judge, was Owen Garvin in the Circuit Court, and the judge in the High Court was Mark Sanfey. From the moment regarding these charges, when John stepped in front of Owen Garvin's mission was to ridicule John, humiliate him, and to generally abuse him. And he made sure that John, under no circumstances, was going to get a fair trial. Basic things throughout the trial were asked for, and through the various court dates in the Circuit Court, that being the usual disclosure. There was a lot of confusion as to what happened here on the day. So a basic request for disclosure of the Tetra, which is the Garda radio, was made. And also all other elements surrounding these charges. The Circuit Court kept refusing discovery. Owen Garvin wouldn't give it. So an application was made to the High Court in front of Mark Sanfey to get disclosure. So I'm going to bring you right up more or less to the trial now and close down all the bits and pieces. When it was getting very close to the trial date in the Circuit Court for John, a week or so beforehand he had been in the High Court and said that he hadn't got disclosure. Judge Sanfey of the High Court told John to go back to the Circuit Court and ask Owen Garvin for disclosure, and if he didn't get it, to come back and he'd make an order on it. So John went back to the Circuit Court, asked for the disclosure, and Owen Garvin says, right, I'll deal with that. Looked at all the items for disclosure and says, no, not relevant, nothing to do with this case, and denied everything. So John informed Owen Garvin that he had a case in the High Court, along with the tort of conspiracy. He also had a constitutional challenge on this trial, on the right to a fair trial and unfair procedures and everything. Owen Garvin didn't seem concerned about that, and once he had John in court, he said, well, the fact of the matter is this court case is going ahead today, whether you like it or not. John wasn't prepared for the case. This was only supposed to be a mention and discuss whatever. And Owen Garvin said, no, the jury has already been impanelled and this trial is going ahead today. And John didn't even have a legal team. He was just doing his own thing at this stage. So after much arguing, he gave John till 10 o'clock the next morning, you have a legal team or the trial proceeds regardless. So John reluctantly, had to employ a legal team, much to his horror, because he thought everything would have been contained in the High Court, and the fact that he had presented this video to the court showing that he wasn't guilty of any crime. So that was it. We all were present when John went to court the next day, and the trial began. Straight away, John was prejudiced. Owen Garvin manipulated everyone, more or less stated that John was guilty, that there was contact. It became very clear he wasn't going to get a fair trial. It was sad to sit there and watch this trial progress. At the start of it, John stood up and he said that he had an application in for discovery into the High Court, or sorry, not discovery, but disclosure, and that he wanted to get a ruling in the High Court before this trial went ahead. In other words, he wanted to stay on the Circuit Court proceedings. Owen Garrigan would not allow that. He said, no, this is going ahead. And with that, the prosecuting barrister, Patrick Reynolds, prosecuting for the DPP, he jumped up and he said that he had received an email that Judge Sanfey in the High Court had ordered the trial to go ahead. Now, we all knew this was lies, so we asked to see the email and we asked to see the order, and he says, oh, I don't divulge that kind of information. And then Garrigan jumped in to back up the DPP. He says, well, there's no order preventing me from going ahead with this trial. And it was a total con job, and they proceeded. And we knew John was in serious trouble at this stage. So anyway, the trial went on ahead. The three Gardaí, Gorman, Brennan, Pádraig Naughton and Patrick McCann, the investigating Garda, all stuck together, and they made sure they framed John. They were caught lying loads of times, but we all know that's the normal in the courts. I've had it in my trial, and you don't get a fair trial. The jury was manipulated. The jury watched this video several times throughout the trial, and the end result was that the jury came back and immediately found John guilty. Now that raises serious questions about the jury. Common sense shows you that nothing happened here, and yet a man is probably looking at up to 7 years for assault, for the most serious charge on this, a Section 3 assault. He's also convicted for dangerous driving, which is probably a 5-year ban. Massive charges for absolutely nothing, just to frame a man. The week after the trial, when John was convicted, he was allowed to stay free or in custody, in his own custody, until he's sentenced on the 11th of October coming. But the week after, on the 18th of July, John went back to the High Court and said to Judge Sanfey that the trial went ahead and that he had ordered the trial to go ahead. And Judge Sanfey said, no, I did not. There was no order from me for the trial to go ahead. So that means that the State Solicitor, Patrick Reynolds, or whoever he got the email from or whatever, lied, blatantly lied to get the trial to go ahead, to get John convicted before he could expose them in the High Court. So naturally the next stage was to put in a judicial review, which is in at present, and it's been in a few weeks now, and we were trying to rush the judicial review through, but the judicial review, the application for it has been put 3 days before John is due to sentenced, so we can see the stunt they're going to pull there that day, or would expect them to pull, that it won't be heard until they get a chance to sentence John. It's just a crazy scenario. It's lie after lie after lie with these Gardaí. The same thing happened to me when Declan Casey and Peter Kearns from the same Garda station and Jerry Lee framed me, and I did 3.5 years. I pray to God this doesn't happen to John, and that some of the stuff we're doing in the High Court will work. But I think these courts, the likes of Owen Garrigan, should be ashamed of himself. The likes of Patrick Reynolds is just a complete liar, or whoever he's in collusion with. There's crazy stuff going in the courts. Innocent people are being framed, they're going to jail, and it's simply not good enough. All I can do is keep exposing this. We're all trying to fight John's corner. We just want to get this video out there so that you will see that Ballina Garda station is probably one of the most corrupt Garda stations in the country. But I know it's going on all around the country. Everyone informs me of what's going on. But please wake up, people. We have to stop this. It was me a few years ago. It's John O'Boyle today. It could be you tomorrow. This is going to keep happening around the country. They're getting away with it. They're destroying this country. The guards are taking kids off people with Tusla. They can do whatever they want. We're living in a complete dictatorship of coercion, deceit and rot. And until we stem that rot, it's going to get worse. Please share this video. Please make it go viral. Show how corrupt the Gardaí are in Ballina. My video is also on YouTube. It's not an isolated incident anymore, and there's probably people out there the same thing has happened to. Please come forward. Let's do a video. Let's keep exposing. Thank you. I'm Joe Ducey for Corruption Awareness Ireland. John is going to be sentenced, if it goes ahead, in Castlebar on the 11th of October. If this happens, it would be a travesty. It would be another miscarriage of justice. So if you're around and you want to show support, please be there and let your presence be felt. Thank you.